Welcome to the Spirit Pathways podcast. I am Kate Spreckley. Our podcasts offer raw, honest, and authentic conversations on a number of topics that we hope you find informative and inspiring. So welcome back to the Spirit Pathways podcast, and I am joined by my co-host, Victoria. Victoria Starkey is a life coach based in France. Although she is French speaking, she is actually English. And yes, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Kate. Thank you for inviting me.
So Victoria and I have decided to join forces and to create a series of podcasts, which we're going to call Get a Grip. And the idea of that is to discuss all sorts of different topics, specifically related to spirituality, personal growth, self-awareness, self-mastery, those kinds of big topics. And part of the reason why we've decided to do this is we often find ourselves getting quite frustrated with the way that spirituality is often portrayed. And as it's often portrayed as something that is out there and outside of ourselves that we need to access, when in fact it is something that we need to access from within ourselves and to live from. And so we're going to start exploring divine timing today, which is a big topic that we may need to rehash and revisit again and again and again. For many of those who have been on a spiritual journey for a long time, divine timing is something that can be incredibly frustrating because the ego wants and the ego needs are often something that we want to have now. But divine timing is something where we need to allow. So that's where we're going to start, I think.
Yep. And I think it's an exciting place to start, because I think it's one of the biggest frustrations in everyday life, especially because it goes against the grain with what we're taught when we're growing up, that things should happen according to our way. It was one of the subjects that you see regularly from being young. You go to school, then you go to university. I mean, this is obviously the classic path, but or you study, you then get a job, you have a family, you get married. It follows and life just doesn't happen that way. And so for me, it was interesting to talk about this now, because I've had a couple of things in my personal life recently that have been very, very telling examples. And so it's a big subject for me, but I think it's a big subject for everybody. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you, Kate, and seeing where this goes.
Well, I think it is an important topic, especially in these times where things are changing so rapidly, and there is such a need for, I think, in that change, there is a need for that surrender and that allowing life to kind of unfold for us, and rather than trying to force things to happen in a predictable or often comfortable way we think is comfortable. And I think that in these times, things are not unfolding the way that they have in the past. We're not experiencing life in the same ways that our parents or our grandparents experienced. And I think it can be so confusing when we try and put our perceived timing on the unfoldment of something that is far greater than us. And I think that what it is actually that shift in consciousness that we're all experiencing. And within that shift in consciousness, there is a deeper need for acceptance, and a deeper need for stepping into and allowing the flow of life to just happen for us, rather than trying to force the flow into different parts that we think or want.
Which is kind of interesting, because my brain kind of hooked onto the word that when you said about comfortable, because on the contrary, my experience often is when you can allow yourself to let go of the expectation and you can allow divine time to play out, things are actually more comfortable than the other way around. Because my experience through life has often been that when I'm pushing, then that's the time to be letting go. I shouldn't be pushing because, and I think that's another sort of idea, belief system, story that we've been, collectively learning and being told for many years, that the struggle is part of the journey. I mean, it's like the whole health thing around no pain, no gain. Yeah, my experiences kind of show that if there is pain, then you're actually going in the wrong, you might not be going in the wrong direction. You might be going too fast, or you might be expecting things to happen too soon. I mean, what happened to me recently was an absolutely phenomenally clear example of just the wrong time. I mean, I'll go into more detail later about what happened, but I knew that I needed something. I started the process and then literally hit a brick wall. I couldn't go any further, and I could have pushed and pushed and pushed. It could have potentially cost me a lot of money. It could have cost me in other ways and what have you. But just having the just accepting that it wasn't the right time and waiting for the time to come, and as it was, it happened a year later. But I mean, it could have been longer. It could have taken longer to sort of unfold. But letting that release, and accepting that it just wasn't really the right opportunity. Now that the right opportunity has arisen and I've been able to actually do it successfully, you think, yeah, that's magic. That's magic, because something that you could have pushed against unfolds within 24 hours, and it literally, I mean, I know people sort of say the stars are aligned. Yeah, obviously I study astrology, I'm interested in astrology, so there is also there can be an astrological explanation, but there can be so many other kinds of explanations as well. So I think it's really interesting to remind ourselves and others that divine timing is really important, and we need to sort of start bringing that on board belief systems as well. We need to, it's kind of like your intuition, it has to be tested. But instead, when you come across a blockage in your life, to give yourself a few seconds and step back and just say, oh, okay, am I on track, but is the time maybe not right? Is this person the right person for me, but is the timing not right? Is this job the right job for, is this career move the right career move, but maybe not the right time? Just give yourself the option of considering that time may actually play a part in it. That's to me, it was the fundamental message behind tonight's conversation. So that's me out. I finished. I've done what I wanted to do. See ya. It was fun.
Don't you dare leave me for the next 40 minutes on my own. I don't want to talk to myself.
I'm sorry.
I just want to go back to the comfort bit. And perhaps what I should have added to that was the perceived comfort.
Right. Okay.
Discomfort over a long period of time can become comfortable. And
clarify, please.
So, it's a bit like that experiment. I think it's this experiment where they put the frog in the water and then they slowly turn the heat up.
Okay. Yeah, and eventually what happens? The
frog just keeps adapting to the temperature. I mean, obviously, if you boil it, the frog's going to be boiled, but we don't go that far with the frog.
I was going to say, how far does it adapt? No, so like 95 degrees, then that's it. The frog's out. Okay, fair dues.
No, but you slowly, you get into a situation, and in the beginning of that situation, it's like, okay, this is unknown, but it's, this feels like, no, I know this. And I think it's the comfort is around the predictability of life. This idea that we follow this path that is, you are born, you go to school, you continue your education after finishing, well, you continue a tertiary education, then you get a job, then you get married, then you have children, and you keep working at the same company until you retire at the age of 5, or until you die, like the frog. And that's the predictable path that we've been told. This is you follow.
This is what we should. Yeah, this is the way it should be. Yeah, I agree.
And often it's not. It's deeply uncomfortable. I tried that. I tried that path.
Yeah,
and
me
it
too. Yeah, me too.
was really uncomfortable. I mean, I kept feeling like, this is not me. This is not my life. How can this be my life? It doesn't feel right. And I think that's also ties into that divine timing, is that things often, if we're trying to force something or we're trying to push something and it's coming from an ego space rather than from a soul space,
Yeah.
it's not right. We can feel that it's not right. And I mean, I also think I need to maybe clarify for those who don't know anything about divine timing, what we're actually talking about, but just podcast.
What do you mean? Not everybody understands what we're talking about. What's going on here? Yeah, sorry. That was the whole point. It was about simplifying the whole message. Yeah, sorry. I kind of got ahead of myself.
Well, I think we started well. So just to clarify what divine timing is actually the idea that everything in life happens, or everything in your life happens at exactly the right or perfect time. Not always when you want it to, but when it's meant to. It comes with the understanding that there is a greater intelligence or spiritual order at work that is guiding events in that perfect timing for your highest good, even if it doesn't feel that way in the moment. And we often, we can fight against divine timing because we want things to happen on our terms. We may not often understand the detours or the delays in what it is that we are trying to create or manifest or bring into form. But often, we're not islands. And this is one thing I always try and explain to people. We don't live actually in isolation. As much as some of us might like to, we don't. We are connected to a collective consciousness. We're connected to a collective field of awareness. And we are all part of that, and we're all plugged into it. You can't unplug yourself from that if you are here and alive and living as a human being. Yeah. And so as a result of that, there are often things that need to happen in order for that, whatever it is that you are wanting to bring into form or to create or to manifest. There are other parts to that which need to be put in place for that to arise. And this is often what people don't understand, is that, well, I'm ready for a relationship. Why has that relationship not manifested? I've done all the work. I've done all the work. I've opened the doors. I'm ready. I'm prepared. Sure, you may be, but what about the other person? They may not yet be in the perfect place to meet you where you are. And that's where we have to wait for that divine timing, for the planets to align in the perfect way for that relationship to manifest or to happen.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of my mum's favorite sayings, and she's absolutely right, is hindsight is a wonderful thing. And yes, it is, because obviously with hindsight comes the perspective. And often the understanding of why things happened the way they did, why they played out, and so on and so forth. But what obviously the spiritual and the personal journey teaches you is not just getting to the point of being in hindsight and looking back and making sense of it, but getting to the point before things happen, or when you're in that present moment of just saying, it's okay. It's okay. I accept that this situation is not the perfect situation that I would like, but it's it's the way it should be. I mean, to go back to my
sorry to interrupt, but the way that it needs to be for my high.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That it is absolutely. It's for my benefit. It's not for anybody else. I mean, it might benefit others at the same time, but it's actually for my benefit. It's my higher good that this is when it's happening. This is the right time for me. Because I mean, to go back to my example, the example that my example is a very simple example. It's about my website. So I decided about a year and a half ago, it was time to develop a personal website. So because I fully believe in synchronicities and I'm very open to synchronicities. For those who don't understand what a synchronicity is, it's basically just a coincidence. It's something, it's either a meeting with somebody or an event or something that pops into your life that you would not have expected to happen, but kind of makes sense, shall we say. Now, I'm very open to synchronicities, and I bumped into this woman I hadn't seen for a while. And when I bumped into her and we got chatting, and she was telling me about the fact that she was a webmaster and a photographer, I knew she was the one for me. So we got chatting and we decided to work together, and we worked together. And then we sorted out the visuals, the graphics, everything within 3 months. It was done. And so then she said, okay, it's now down to you. You have to write the texts. Now, I tried, failed miserably, couldn't make any kind of sense of the mush that was going on in my brain. I mean, I know I've always known what I'm good at, but putting it down on paper and making sense out of it and trying to make it into was just like not happening. Now, because I study astrology, I hadn't necessarily realized it. I mean, I knew I'd been in this whole focus thing for years around about my personal relationships, and I couldn't get past it. Everything kept bringing me back to my relationships. I mean, we're talking man-woman relationships, and I've been in that system for a few years now. And I couldn't get my focus. I desperately wanted to get my focus on my work. My work has been like really just ticking over, but not at all what it should be. And I couldn't, I kept throwing energy at it, throwing money at it, throwing what, and nothing was happening. And these texts for the website were just like dead in the water. And in the end, I was like, okay, so I'm not going to fight. I've done enough work on myself. I understand it. I understand the way it works. And I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm just going to leave it. And eventually it will sort itself out. And then what happened 10 days ago, Uranus, wonderful Uranus, decides to move out of Taurus. I'm not going to go into all the specifics in astrology. If anybody wants more information, they can give me a call. But basically changed signs and moved from, it had been for 7 years, it had been in an earth sign, Taurus, which for me, Taurus is in my love, let's say my love and partnership. So I've been in that for 7 years. That was been my focus. That's been my thing. And I couldn't get away from it. All of a sudden it moves into Gemini, which is an air sign. And it's also it's an air planet. And everything shifted. And Gemini is communication. Within 24 hours, I'd written 6 pages of text in French and English, and the website text were written. And I mean, I even sent them to the webmaster, and she really couldn't believe that I'd done it after all that time. And the difference has been incredible. And so it really brought it back to me that, in retrospect, yes, I could have forced my way through last year. I could have decided this was my website. I was doing it then. It had to be done then. I could have brought copywriters on, I could have brought all kinds of people on board that would have cost me a fortune to try and make sense of the mush that was in my brain. The result would not have been good. I wouldn't have been happy with it, etc., etc., etc. And, yeah, you can always push through. But why? And so having gone through that and realizing now today, and obviously I've got the astrological explanation on top of that, but you don't have to necessarily believe that. That's everybody believes what they want to believe, but for me it works. But that difference in the way the energy has become unblocked and everything, and I'm now in the flow of work. And work has now become my focus, and I can see where I want to go with it. I can see, everything, it's like a big door is open. And that to me is the magic of divine time. if you can get to that space and just say, yes, I would like it to be now, but I can't control it being now. And if it's not supposed to be now, well, then I accept that it's going to be later. And I will try and put my focus there where I'm being asked to put my focus, and come back to, basically, to my point of view, quite a humble thing of just trust the process, just trust it. And yeah, it's been frustrating over the last few years because now I haven't had the money that I wanted. Now I haven't had a financial situation that's been ideal, but I've got by. I've always had enough. I've managed to have enough. And if you can release that expectation and just accept that, okay, things don't necessarily happen when and as and how you would like, and you can keep manifesting and you can keep giving gratitude. But if you do the work that's there in front of you, and you follow the natural flow of life. My natural flow of life for the last 7 years has been sorting out my private life. There's no doubt about it. It's just been one clear message after another, and one clear situation that has popped up after another. And and to me it was absolutely natural. To everybody around me it seemed a bit strange, because they were all kind of thinking, maybe you have other priorities in life. But to me, that was where my focus needed to be, and that was the work that I was needed to do. And now it's shifted. And so that, for me, is why divine time is so important to all of us. And I think we don't talk about it enough, or we don't simplify it enough for people to really understand that going against the system, or going against that system, is just going to cause you pain and heartache and difficulty, and sometimes actually illness, which is, because it can push people to, it pushed me at one stage before all of this understanding, pushed me to burnout. And I think it pushes other people into sometimes drastic personal situations. And so for me, it's a really critical conversation, which is why I wanted us to start and open with that.
And I think also you've through sharing your story, so thank you for that. I think you've highlighted a couple of things. You've highlighted, number one, having no expectations or attachment to outcomes.
Mm.
When we can just allow things to be as they are, knowing that change is the natural order of life, actually, and change happens. And if we can just move with change, then we will get to where we need to get to. But it's also, number two, having enough self-awareness to be able to determine, where is my focus being drawn? Where am I guided to focus? Without self-awareness, we can sit back and say, oh, well, nothing's happening, so I'm just going to wait for the divine timing to, make it all happening. Well, no.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, good point. Good point.
You need to be able to be aware, self-aware enough to know, okay, well, what is it that I'm being guided to focus on? What aspect of my life am I being guided to heal, to build, to repair, to release? What is it?
Yeah.
So for you've determined now and been able to understand now that the last 7 years have all been about relationships. Now, how helpful 7 years ago would that have been for you, and how would it have changed your experiences in the last 7 years if you had understood that? If you had known your focus needs to be, the next 7 years, it needs to be on relationships. I can share a little. We've laughed about this before. I've been in the midst of my cry and return, which thankfully comes to an end on my birthday this year. Thank God. Be celebrating that, because your cry and return comes. Everyone has a cry and return. I can't remember when it happens, but it's like late 40s, early 50s. And it's normally 2 years. My cry and return, for some unknown divine reason, has been 4 years. And I remember going and having going to an astrologer, a friend, and she did my chart. And this was 3 years ago, I think. And she did my chart for the year. I said that, you know, there's some things that I need to decide on and some choices I have to make. And this was along the lines of leaving. Do I leave South Africa and go to Canada? Or, you know, what do I do with my life at that point? And she said to me, oh, you've hit your cry and return. You're in the cry and return. You shouldn't really be making big decisions right now. Well,
I kind of play that one.
Oops.
Not to plan.
Yeah, didn't really listen to that piece of advice. I might have listened and it went through one ear and straight out the other. You know,
you are especially self-aware, so you knew that at that time you needed to do it anyway. You knew where your focus was.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, made it easier for myself some ways. Anyway, that's not the point. The point of my story is that she said to me, you know, you've got this cry and return that's going to be 4 years long, and it's a challenging time. It's going to be challenging. And Crown is, I mean, you could probably explain a little bit more about Crown. It's all about the wounded.
No, it's the wounded healer, but I know it's not something that I've necessarily studied very much, so I'll pass and leave that to the other experts.
Well, the Crown return brings to the surface all your core wounds.
Okay.
I'm really simplifying it, and I'm not an astrologer. I have deep fascination and interest in astrology, so I know a little bit about a really big subject. So that's
me too.
Explanation of Crown. And anyway, she did say to me, you know, for these 4 years the Crown is here, you are going to have to just focus on healing. You're going to have to focus on your own healing. You're going to have to focus on facing whatever things that stand in your way of the full expression of who you truly are and what you need to be and express in the world. Fantastic. Sounds easy. No, it's not. Certainly not for me. So was I frustrated? Yes, because there were lots of things that I wanted to do. There are lots of things that I wanted to initiate. There are lots of things that I wanted to create and build. Not the time. Just time. But it doesn't mean that I sat back and went, I think more crawled into a corner and cried. I didn't. I did sometimes. But what I did was I took note of all of the things that I was feeling inspired to build and all the things that I've been inspired to create. And I made a note of them. And I kept making notes to these things. And I have kept building the ideas of what it is that I'm wanting to bring into form, the books that I want to write, the programs and the courses that I want to develop. So I have a ton of stuff that when the timing is right, I can into form and I can launch into the world.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is where the self-awareness is critical, because if I hadn't known about cry and return, I would have forced it. I would have pushed it and forced it and pushed it and forced it and failed. Like nothing landed. Nothing that I tried to do would have landed. It would have gone nowhere. And I would have been disheartened. I would have been frustrated. And I would have possibly have given up on some things that were really critical and important for the future. So, you know, self-awareness is key. The third thing that I want to highlight is the importance of being present in what is here now, not in what is coming in the future or what we want in the future. It's what is here right now, because this is the most important moment here now, not the future. We don't know what's coming. We don't know how it's going to play out. We can imagine it, and we can situations and scenarios in our head, which are often based on our experiences from the past. We don't truly know. And we are in this time where there is so much newness happening, and where new things are unfolding and new things are coming for everyone, a new experience of life, essentially. To be open to what is happening now in this moment, and to allow that moment to take you to the next and to the next and to the next, is so important. So important for our mental health, for our physical health, so important for our stability, and so important in being able to manage, again, those expectations and the attachments that we may have to outcomes.
You're so right, because I was reflecting when you were talking about the things that I didn't write anything down over the last year, but with regards to the website, I kind of, like I say, I mean, I've still been working over the last year, although it's not been to full capacity or necessarily always doing what I wanted to do. But I kind of went into observer mode, and went into that, like, onto that eagle perch view of myself of, well, eventually I'm going to have to write about what I'm doing, what I'm good at, and present it to the world. So I started taking a more critical look at what I was doing and how I was doing it and how I was showing up. So that when it came to the time of actually doing the text, I could sort of take a step back and honestly say, because I've never been very good at marketing bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to use a swear word here, but hey, I'm not very good at it. If I don't agree with it, I can't write it, and I can't. It's just difficult for me. So, but I've never had. I don't have a massive ego either, but I think I have quite an honest ego when it comes to what I am good at and what I'm not good at. And so I sort of took that kind of observer role, and then when I got to actually sit down and write it, I was happy with what I'd written, because yes, it was aligned and it was truthful, because over the year I've watched myself do it in certain roles. And so I think that's also the whole thing about divine timing as well, is taking the step out of the picture and looking at the bigger picture, and it's
I think
I'm not sure what I want to say. Yeah, go on.
I think it's that process of observe and engage.
Yeah.
And engage. This is, that is the rhythm of what it is. It like you say, it's the eagle, which is able to see the whole landscape.
Yeah.
It's the mouse that sees the detail.
Yeah.
And scurries along doing stuff. The eagle just flies. So we do to tap into that movement. And that movement is also, what are we being encouraged to do in that moment? Are we being encouraged to be the eagle that is able to survey our lives or whatever it is that we're engaging with? And once we've got some, you're not going to get everything, but some insight and some clarity, then you focus on the engagement. What is the doing part? And it's that, like the movement of the masculine and feminine energies. We forward to intuit. So for the last year, what your feminine energy has been doing has been intuiting. What is it that the words that need to come forth? What is it that I need to share? Yes, you've been gaining a greater clarity around your strengths and your weaknesses, what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you want to focus on, what you don't want to focus on, all of that. But that energy has been gathering. And now it's like the masculine energy is like, right, now I've got it. Now I can do it. And this is what balance of those two energies within us is. The feminine gathers all of the information, the insight, the clarity, the wisdom, the guidance, and then directs the masculine in how to action that. And what is the action to be taken?
Yeah, I want to build, absolutely, absolutely. And what I want to build on is as well, I think the practicalities, maybe it might be useful to sort of share how it practically shows up for us when we're not in flow. Because when you're talking early on about being self-aware and what have you, for the people that may be joining us and listening that are discovering all of this, for me, the way I knew that I had to let go was, for example, I mean, silly little things, apart from the fact that I couldn't actually write the text. But the reason why I knew that work was not my major focus was, I mean, you know me, you've known me now for a few years. I'm super social and I can talk to anybody about anything. Yet, whenever I would go to a professional event, I was just tongue-tied. I couldn't speak. And if anybody asked me the question, okay, so what do you do? Or who are you? And nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. I would just come out with the biggest load of gobbledygook. And I'd go home thinking, what a bloody idiot. If I'd have met you, I'd have gone, who the hell's she? And yeah, I know, because I know myself well enough from years in the past. I've never had a problem, you know, I know professionally what I'm worth. I know, you know, I don't have and I don't have a problem meeting strangers. I don't have a problem speaking about myself. Yet over the last sort of few years, it's kind of like this whole new persona had taken over me. And in that professional space, I was just dysfunctioning completely. And yet, and so, yeah, getting back to the self-awareness, I knew that that was not me. So there was something else that was going on that was making me go, hello, how are you? Because it's just not me. That's not the way I engage with people. Um, so, you know, instead of like losing it and just getting really angry, I was like, okay, this is just not working at the moment. So, and yet the focus, the call for me was, I was constantly having events from my private life that would just kind of come and take precedent. I had things that I needed to deal with on a day-to-day basis that were constantly linked to personal problems. I mean, might be, maybe family problem, wasn't always just about my relationship, but everything. You know, I mean, there were periods in my life and I was just thinking, for God's sake, is my family ever going to get out of my hair? Am I going to be able to do anything other than look after family members? And so if that helps people to get a kind of perspective and think, yeah, well, maybe in my life, when I'm talking about blockages, they're the kinds of things I'm talking about. It's just like, you want to go in this direction. You know, I wanted to talk to people in professional networking events. I didn't want to roll up and go, hey, where's Victoria? You know, I wanted it to be fluid. It just wasn't. And yet, you know, I would sit down at my computer at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 9:05, I'd get a phone call from my mum with some kind of disaster that needed dealing with that eventually would take up my whole day. And it was just the fact that every single day, that was the kind of stuff that was playing out. And so, you know, you'd have to be really, really dumb to not come to the realization, well, I'm not supposed to be dealing with my work because every day I've got other stuff going on. Do you know what I mean? So that's also the kind of thing that where you realize that well, something else is playing out here. I don't necessarily know what it is. I mean, our belief is it's divine timing. Others may call it something else, may put another label on it, whatever, tell a different story. But basically, we're not always in the driver's seat. We're not always in control. We can work with it. Like you say, we can co-create, we can observe, we can take notes, we can put aside for later, we can intuit certain things, but the timing is everything. And the timing, as far as I'm concerned, is out of our control.
No, I totally agree with you. And I can agree with you because I have been at times actively working against divine timing. Well,
Didn't go well, did it?
no, I will force this thing to happen because this is what I need. This is what I think I need now.
Yeah. And then, so how did it play out?
Work well. It ends up in burnout, you know? Burnout
Yeah.
one of the maybe both. And I think it's in the times that we are in now, this is becoming more and more and more important.
Yeah.
And the need for surrendering those ego needs or those ego wants, and surrendering to the soul, surrendering to something bigger than just us, surrendering to the perfect organized design of our lives and of our world and of this planet really is critical. And we need to start getting back in tune with the natural rhythms and the natural flows, not just of the planet, but of ourselves too. You know, to be able to get to that place, because when we are reconnected with that natural flow and that natural rhythm, that's when the beauty of divine timing is really shown to us, where we can just, and I've experienced so many incredible things in my life, and one of the and those beautiful things and those beautiful experiences are often in the throes of some terrible trauma crisis. And what I've learned now is how critical it is to hand over my will to the divine will. And when I do that, everything happens for me. Absolutely everything. I mean, from I've done some big things in the last 2 years, some really big things, and thank God I have got some sense and have learned something in this on this journey, and that was surrendering my will to divine will and going back. I left South Africa thinking I was never going to be coming here, never coming back here, to always be coming back, because I would always consider this home and my children here, but never thought I'd return. I'm back, much to my surprise. The only reason I've been able to stay sane and to manage it all really incredibly well, I think, is because I completely surrendered my will. And I was like, okay, that's what I thought. That's what I planned for.
But
Clearly,
that was wrong.
Plan. I got a portion of the plan, but I didn't get the whole plan. Well, I'm going back. And you know, how everything has just unfolded in such an incredible way for me. It's been magical. And it's made me, it is not made me, it's reinforced my trust in life.
Me too.
And that
sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Carry on. Sorry.
But I was just going to say, I think that their ability to trust in life again is something for those of us who have had some challenging circumstances and situations in our lives. It's a rough one. It's a hard one to do.
I agree. And yes, well, we both, without necessarily, we're not going to share all of our lives in the first episode, but we've both had pretty trying lives and paths. But I think that's the key, is that it's important that people understand is not only does it make life easier because it follows the natural flow and we're no longer fighting, we're being taken where we need to be taken, but by doing that, it released the negative emotions and energy surrounding that. So you can reconnect with joy, you can reconnect with fun, with love, you can reconnect with, like you say, it's the magic of life when you can sit back afterwards. Like you say, you know, you went to Canada, we all thought you were staying in Canada. I was planning like, I'm going to visit Canada, I'm going to go to Canada. No, I'm not. I'm going to South Africa. I'm the same. The amount of times I can, because I'm also strong into it, but I can see where I'm going. But then, you know, we also have free will. So we also make choices on the way, which then things kind of move along and you flow and things go differently. So yeah, maybe you only got a little bit of the map. Maybe you got all the map, but the map then changed because the destination changed. There's so many reasons why things happen, but when you have these magical moments, and like with me with my stupid text from the website, but you sit back and you just think, I mean, I smiled for a week afterwards just because it was so incredible, the difference in the state that when I was in, that where I'm at now. It's like, this is the wonder of life. This is what it's all about. We don't have, there are difficulties. Yes, there are difficulties. Life is not easy, and I'm not saying it is easy, but we can make it easier. And when we make it easier and we are able to release the expectations like that and trust the process, and for goodness sake, I don't do it all the time. I would hate for people to think that I'm an expert in it, because I'm not. I still catch myself up regularly. But when we do it, you just sit back and you just think, oh, that is pretty spectacular. That's spectacular, and it's worth so much. And so yeah, it lights you up from the inside out. And that's what I think the world needs today. We need to be able to collectively get back to that kind of childlike joy and wonder of, yeah, life is actually pretty cool. Life can be pretty cool. And those moments are, yeah, yeah.
They
I
are
mean,
what keep us going.
yeah,
They truly do. They keep us going. They help us to continue to have faith in life, faith in
yeah,
ourselves, faith in humanity, faith in God, faith in the universe.
whatever.
It helps us to keep having faith and to keep making the effort and to
Yeah,
pursue that even
yeah.
through challenge,
Mm,
there is gold. Even
there is.
difficulties, there are those moments that there is that feeling of wonder, that feeling of joy, that feeling of just awe, really,
Yeah.
what will help us persevere through the difficulty, through the challenge, because it's going to come. That feeling will come at some
Yeah,
point along that journey of that particular challenge. You're going to get there.
yeah.
And so many of us are faced with challenges at the moment, whether it's relationship challenges or work challenges or personal,
Mm,
self around self, or illnesses and loss and death and whatever it is. There is so
mm,
much being thrown at us at the moment, and we 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 need those moments of joy to carry us through that.
mm,
And if we step back, observe, feel the wonder of all the things that have actually happened to us. I mean, I often say to people that are struggling with whatever they're facing now, it's often around survival. How am I going to survive this? I'm like,
mm,
well, you've survived this far.
mm,
Everything has been provided for you this far.
mm.
How do you doubt that it's going to stop?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, might not have had everything that you wanted, might
Yeah.
exactly the way that you wanted it to be, but you survived. You got here.
Mm,
Why do you doubt you're going to continue to survive?
mhm,
So keep going.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. I think it is a vast subject, divine timing, and we will come back to it, no doubt, in the future. But it's, for me, it's a vital one that is not covered often enough. And I think we've done a pretty good job of giving a round picture of what we wanted to talk about to start with. But yeah, I think that's, to kind of round it up. That was the reason why I wanted us to do this podcast as well, was to simplify some of these messages, and allow people to realize, um step by step, there's easy things to do. Because I think sometimes I kind of get this impression that, yes, generally speaking, people are so much more aware of personal development and therapy and what have you, and the benefits of it. But there seems to be this massive step from where the vast majority of people are, and that first step that they need to be, and it doesn't have to be a massive step. It can be a little tiny step. It can be a small realization and another small realization, and then little by little you can, you kind of open yourself up to new ideas, to new perspectives, to new ways of thinking. And then eventually maybe you'll move up to that step of actually, okay, I might want to do something about this, and I might actually want to actively engage with my personal journey. But what I wanted us to do with this podcast series is to give those minor steps, right from to bring it back down to everyday life where people are on a day-to-day basis, and to help them realize, well, yeah, sometimes just changing a little bit of your perspective on certain things and looking at it in a different way can actually make a big difference. So thank you, Kate, for this first session. Very
Thank you.
happy.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Sometimes that subtle, well, just that subtle shift in perspective opens up an entire new world for us. And I'm hoping that as we continue to do this podcast series and engage in these topics, we're going to create those subtle shifts for people and help people to understand that, that all the spiritual stuff is not so weird.
No,
It's
no.
pretty normal and pretty accessible for everyone, actually. It's not
And
for the
super cool. And super cool.
fun.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And you
So
can even swear in a podcast and be spiritual.
I don't think I saw once.
No, I did.
I'm quite impressed with myself.
I'm very impressed with you. I'm very impressed with you. You did a big pat on the back. I am
Back.
a little less impressive, but I need room to maneuver.
Listen, I'm generally always throwing a F-bomb somewhere, but today I didn't find the need, which is quite impressive. Maybe I've grown up a little bit. See,
Well, let's see. Let's see.
this is what cry and return has done to me.
What turned you into an F-bomb?
Take all my F-bombs.
It's taken them away. You've grown up. I'll cry and bring her back for God's sake, please. Don't, not too much now. Well, actually, Cryon's nearly finished with you, so maybe this is enough. I don't grow up anymore because I get bored.
I'll do my best.
My inner child will have no one to play with. So please stay.
Oh, I trust me, it's still there. Anyway, thank you. And I want to say to anyone who is listening, we're planning to do more of these, obviously. If there is any subject that you would like us to chat about and to cover, drop us a message, comment on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or send us an email through the Spirit Pathways website. I'll put all the links below. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. And take care of yourselves. It's a wild, wild world out there.
Certainly is. It's an exciting ride.
It's an exciting ride. We're enjoying it. We're loving it. So anyway, hopefully see you all soon, and let us know what you thought of our first episode of the Get a Grip series on divine timing.
Thank you.